Welcome back to another episode of Twisted Metal Companion. I'm Peter, sitting over there. I don't have anything clever to say. We were just joking about what I might say, and maybe we'll just avoid that. But not wearing a frog suit and looking pretty safe is Tyler. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to those that do know that we live in Portland and was kind of asking, when some things were going down, if we're okay. But no, there was zero going on in Portland. Everything was completely fine, despite what you may have heard or read in the news, anything like that. So we're safe. It's just with our line of work, things are getting busy. We're going to be talking about, kind of passing of the baton in several ways here. I kind of took over a different podcast as well, so I was kind of getting that started. So we were on a bit of a hiatus, and look forward to starting our episode breakdowns for season two here. But we wanted to get together because we had some breaking news earlier today. It was announced that season three of Twisted Metal has been renewed. So the other bombshell that dropped um in Twisted Metal world, because a lot has fucking happened today, you guys, on the day. So this is some welcome news. The season three renewal is the welcome news. For me, the jury's a little bit out on this other breaking news that Michael Jonathan Smith, who many of you guys, who listen to this podcast know as MJ, uh, in the interviews, the cast and people behind the show or behind the camera that work on the show also refer to him as MJ, has exited as showrunner from Twisted Metal. Taking over for season three is David Reed, who I tried to double check, and it does not appear that he has worked on Twisted Metal. However, there's kind of this weird credit from 2023, doesn't specify anything, so I don't know if that's an error. Again, the news just dropped today. Tyler, do you have thoughts on that?
No, yeah, he's got a writing credit on IMDb for Twisted Metal, but not a specific episode, So maybe he
Yeah.
did some additional, like punch up or something, like some just like behind the scenes writer's room kind of writing, but yeah, it's very vague.
It is. I mean, I guess the good thing is it doesn't say anything like, MJ left due to creative differences or anything like that. I was doing like some light research earlier, and I saw an interesting credit that I don't remember seeing before, and now like trying to pull it up for the purpose of this podcast. I'm not saying like it disappeared. I mean, it was like phone versus laptop here, and I was unable to find this thing, but in MJ's IMDb, it was credited that there was a series in development called The New Red, and I had forgotten this bit of information, but the only thing I was able to find out about this show is from a Variety article back in 2021. I'll get to that in terms of like, kind of my thoughts on that. But let's first get to the renewal. Tyler, can you kind of read the article and kind of give us what they reported on?
Yeah, so from Variety, we've got Twisted Metal's been renewed for season three at Peacock, Variety has learned. In addition, Michael Jonathan Smith, who co-created the series and has served as showrunner for the first two seasons, will be exiting the show. David Reed will board the series as showrunner and executive producer for season three under an overall deal with Sony Pictures Television. And then from there, it's kind of a recap of what Twisted Metal is, the season so far, kind of the story so far. And then we've got Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick also co-created the show and will still executive produce along with Reed. Arnett and Mark Foreman executive produce via Electric Avenue, along with Mackie via Make It Gravy Productions, Jason Spire of Inspire Entertainment is just a long list of the different, production companies, producers, things like that, people at Sony. But as for Reed, his recent credits include the hit Amazon series The Boys, as well as the Paramount Plus series Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Additionally, he's written for shows like The Magicians, Supernatural, and Aquarius, while he's also sold pilots to BBC Worldwide, CBS, Tomorrow Studios, and FX. Writer of novels, comic books, and video games over the course of his career. So yeah, seen some of those credits. The Boys is definitely the one I'm most familiar with. And as for like tone, of writing and for a show, like I uh see that positively. I could see that translating well to Twisted Metal.
Right. And so you watched The Boys.
Hmm.
Did you have a pulse on that change in showrunner, like in halfway through its run? Because what it's four seasons. The fifth one's coming out next year,
Mhm.
and I believe the back three. Um, I don't know if he was showrunner, but at the very least, he was like executive producer on every episode for the previous two and the upcoming season five. So the first two, he was not involved, at least not to that extent from our kind of like short research here, and also I believe it's seasons two and three for the whole new world, the whole new world Star Trek.
Strange New Worlds.
Okay, Strange New World, yeah. And I think there's only three seasons, and
Mhm.
again, like all of season two and three, he was pretty involved. So yeah, just because like there's so little that they gave us. You got the big great news, yay, we got a season three, but then the whole bomb like okay, but the showrunner of the first two seasons, and like listening to our if you guys go back and if you guys remember like listening to our interviews, that's MJ came up so much in all of that, how he had his fingerprints on everything, along with Grant and Sean Destin. Like that was kind of like the three names that you heard a lot about, that were there like all the time. And so these articles that we have seen throughout the day, none of them say anything about a change in like writers or anything like that. It's still very early on. This is the first bit of news we've gotten post like the release of season two. So that's something that I'm gonna be keeping an eye out on as well. I'm not saying like I'm not gonna watch season three, but I want to see how much is changing like behind the scenes. Um, like MJ, I started this podcast and YouTube channel based on the announcement of MJ's involvement of Twisted Metal, and I'm just like, well, Cobra Kai is eventually going to be ending here. You know, I forgot what year it was announced, maybe 2021. There was a lot of announcements in 2021. And and so I was kind of looking for like the next thing, and MJ was so gracious for like all those seasons to come back after every season of Cobra Kai to talk about his episodes, and it gave me so much of his time, and I felt like we built like a little bit of a relationship there, and he was always down to come on and talk. And so like when he became showrunner of Twisted Metal, man, I saw firsthand like how busy he was and how involved. And so although I was unable to book him for an interview, it was never like you know um it, I just felt like there was he was just too busy and a lot was going on that he was unable to come on for the show. However, if there were reportings that were coming out about Twisted Metal that was worthy of sharing, and I would reach out and try to get the information correct, right? Because I wanted to be your guys' source for Twisted Metal news, and I don't want to report without kind of doing my due diligence if I'm able to. And so I'm not saying that I broke these news, but like when season two um was announcing like their different format for season two, where season one was all 10 episodes at once, right? And for season two, we were going to do a weekly thing. And I saw various sites saying different things. One was saying, oh, it's going to be okay, so this is the date where the first episode is going to drop. So that means weekly, and it's going to be 10 episodes. And so I saw maybe one source that actually I'm trying to remember the timeline, guys. It's been months, several months, but I don't think season two getting 12 episodes was widely known. And that was something that I was able to confirm through MJ and report based off of that. And he wasn't giving me like anything exclusive. He was telling me basically what was already out there. It's just people had to kind of find it. And so because when season two announced its release date or air date and kind of the format, like that was such big news. I think a lot of people were kind of jumping on, and some of those details was kind of getting lost in the shuffle. So I was able to find out that yes, it was 12 episodes, and then I found out that they were being broken up into blocks, right? Like the first drop was 3 episodes. Then we got two, 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 and then three or something like that, right? And so, I feel like I might be losing that in terms of my kind of reporting. And so it was also difficult with Twisted Metal to land a writer. And I've interviewed just about like every writer on Cobra Kai. And so this one was a little bit difficult as well. And like I'm kind of a new guy and many of them don't know me. That was the thing that I was kind of getting with MJ. Just when I made the announcement that I was starting the podcast, he immediately endorsed us. And that's how we got like people like Stephanie Beatrice to follow, on Instagram, Mike Mitchell, and also like Taj Vaughns, who met up with me in person before the show even came out. Like for all I know, Taj could have been like an extra. Really, I don't know, but I ended up meeting Taj, and then like when the show came out, I was like, holy cow! Like this guy had no business like coming in to hang out with some sort of stranger, but it's because they knew that I covered Cobra Kai, and that's where MJ came from all those seasons, and so I think that kind of gave us like a bit of a trust, and his endorsement, it kind of made people like, oh, okay, so he's cool then. Like if MJ endorses him, then he's cool. And so I feel that also made it easier to get some of those interviews during the writer strike, when I can and then ultimately the actors strike as well, SAG. And so they can promote, the show, and the show literally dropped in the middle of all of that. So instead, luckily enough, I was able to talk to Stacey Perry in the Makeup FX, Liz Vistola, the costume designer, directors Katao Sakurai. And so that's how I was able to kind of, get those folks. But it all started with MJ. And so that's why when I saw this, I was just like, man, I don't know if I should be celebrating because like, hey, we're getting more Twisted Metal, but without him, behind it, I'm just like, oh man, that kind of takes the air out of my balloon a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, Tyler, when was the first time you saw the news? Kind of tell me like how you found
Yeah,
out.
yeah, earlier today, seen that article come up. And yeah, kind of a similar uh feeling like from all the different interviews, it was always kind of the constant that like, he was it felt like, obviously it's a collaborative effort, but it felt like it was kind of like his baby. He was involved with so many aspects of the show, and so many people being interviewed and saying like uh oh yeah, that scene, that joke, that like whatever, like that was MJ, or that was his influence, kind of his passion doing making something exactly this way. And yeah, like you said, you coming from Cobra Kai, like being kind of the motivation to like follow him over to here because of the love of that. Um, it's significant, uh, probably that's why we're doing this, recording right now, is like, because like, oh, it seems like it could mean a big change, for what season three feels like, the tone, the sense of humor, like yeah, it's even down to like the little details, Easter eggs, from all the different games where it was clear that, he had really dug into like the the lore and the story and the aspects, like the specific weapons, that a certain character, used in one game, somewhere that we get to see and like find in an episode. Like, are we going to see, that level of care? Always optimistic, hope that, it will, but I guess it's also an opportunity to fantasize about what's what is his next thing, what is he going to move on to, which could be
Right.
an
And
exciting new prospect.
yes, and I have a theory. It's just, again, I kind of teased it earlier about based on my little bit of research. But David Reed coming in, like his work speaks for itself. The Boys was not a show I watched, and you kind of talked about like that transition, like you didn't. It seemed pretty seamless, and so that's something to be excited about. Um, I have an example of like, and I didn't cover the show. This is the first time where I've covered a show where a showrunner has changed, and Quantum Leap is the original series. I love and I grew up watching, which is actually the podcast that I've taken over because they had a one of their co-hosts had a passing, and then like it was actually during the coverage of like the reboot season two, and then after season two, after it was announced that they would be canceled after season two, no season three, all the hosts, they're like, well, we've kind of done everything. We've done the original series, more than twice, and with different hosts, and then they did the reboot series, and they interviewed everybody there. Um, and then with that passing, they're just like, well, what else is there to do? And so like it just sat there. And I just kind of, I'm friends with the hosts, and I spoke with them. I was just like, would you guys welcome like some new voices? And they're like, dude, it's yours. And I'm just like, well, coincidentally, it was my very first podcast idea 12 years ago that I wanted to do a Quantum Leap podcast, but then they existed already. And then so I started doing other things. But Quantum Leap season two, the reboot, uh I don't know when it happened, but there was a change in showrunner for the reboot series as well. And season two, I actually enjoyed much better than season one. So, like it could be, we don't know. This is all speculation right now. We don't know the situation. We don't know if there was another project MJ was already attached to. And, Tyler, you actually said this to me before we started recording that it could also be like, the success of the show. I believe um in one of these articles, I don't know if it's Variety, but somewhere I read that the minutes viewed, it became Peacock's like second most like watched series, right? That's something to be proud of. And also, by the way, the Game Awards just announced some nominees and stuff, and no mention of Twisted Metal season two.
Yeah, a real snub. The the games nominated are kind of some of the obvious ones. Minecraft movie, Last of Us season two, Until Dawn, and then there's like a Splinter Cell cartoon, and the Devil May Cry, I think is a cartoon. I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. Um, but like I don't know. Until Dawn is a movie based on a game that's based on slasher movies. So it's like a, not a terrible movie, but it's very redundant. Where uh, uh, Twisted Metal, is so much more, I guess, like unique of an adaptation because it's not slavish to its source material, and it's trying to do something new while like honoring the kind of the spirit of the different games. But I don't know, what a loss for them, to not have the
Yeah.
cast on stage at some point.
I don't even think that, there's any like division in the fandom or anything like that. There's definitely a lot of concern where people are like, wait, what? Like a new showrunner? And then the others are like, oh, hell yeah, season three. Like for kind of kind of like casual watchers, like I don't think that means anything to them, but like for like someone like content creators and podcasters who like, we love to kind of give, people their flowers when they, when we want to recognize them for like something amazing. And like, holy shit, you guys, season two, I talked about like how I just kept on watching these episodes over and over and over. And I just loved them so much. And it was kind of nice to kind of binge weekly because it's like, yeah, then I'm just gonna watch these two episodes over and over until I get those next two and then the next three for the finale. Um, I'm still processing it, like I said, I felt like I had a relationship with MJ. I he was he always responded to me. Even if it wasn't right away, he always made it a point to respond and apologize like, oh, hey, sorry, I didn't get like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have to. He's show running. You know what I mean? Like I'm thankful that he even responds, and he didn't have to for being as busy as he is, but he always made the effort to kind of keep me in the know. Like, hey, I'm busy right now. Won't you try reaching out? Around this time, like just something like that. And I just did a kind of a quick search, and I couldn't find the social media for David Reed, so you know what I mean? And I already feel kind of weird, like even reaching out to the writers to try to like get confirmation and stuff like that because that's not their place, and I don't want them to kind of like overstep any sort of boundaries, and I don't want to put anybody in weird positions. And so, um, I think like selfishly for me, that's just where I'm like, oh man, like I feel that that's just kind of part of the companion brand, is with Cobra Kai, like the creators didn't have to choose me to kind of be the bridge between the fandom and the series, right? Where I got to visit the set and I got got to meet like um stars that weren't even introduced yet in the final season, like those kind of things. And yeah, it's just gonna be it's gonna be a little weird. Like it's this all of this does come from a bit of a selfish place where I'm just like, I feel kind of bummed out a little bit, but I'm still gonna do my due diligence. But in terms of the future for the podcast, it's too soon to speak on it just because the news is just broke, and so little is reported right now. So it's, right now I could be saying all these things and then it's like, oh, well, like literally everybody's returning but MJ because of like this other project. And that's amazing. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So it's just like it's kind of an initial reaction right now, really. And again, I'm still processing. It was a long day for both of us. And, I had really little time to kind of digest and research even more. Like we were doing so much researching like before we got on the call just to make sure that we have like an idea of what we kind of wanted to talk about. The tease earlier that I was talking about, and again, this could be nothing because I did see next to MJ's his credits is like a new series in development called The New Red. And I had to look it up, and there was an article from September 2021. I'm sorry, getting a little under the weather here, you guys, too. Back in 2021, there was an article titled Cobra Kai creators team with Yes Studios to develop follow-up to Israeli series Red Band. And so this is an existing IP in Counterbalance Entertainment, which is the production company for the Cobra Kai creators, John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Heald. So they will be serving as executive producers under their banner. Uh, and Counterbalance's head of development, Dina Hillier, who was also instrumental in like their show Obliterated, which was on Netflix, canceled after one season. Um, so um, she's also involved with this, and it says Cobra Kai co-executive producer Michael Jonathan Smith will write and executive produce. And so again, this is 2021. A lot can change. A lot probably changed. How did you have anything to kind of add to that real quick?
I mean, I looked at the what is it? Yes. the Yes TV or Yes Media, whatever that was. I looked at their
Studios. Yeah.
yeah, their website and like their like in production kind of projects, and I couldn't find anything, really that 2021 article is like the last kind of mention like of it. So I would be very surprised if that's not like a either a dead project or just something that's indefinitely like on hold. So I would yeah
Developmental
I would,
hell.
yeah I would be shocked if we get a press release saying that's his next project confirmed.
Right. So the article's there from 2021. I vaguely remember this, but also you're talking about in 2021, Cobra Kai moved to Netflix, and you had seasons 3 and 4 drop that same year. And so, um, I was obviously busy with all of that going on. Uh, I I think that's pretty much I have to kind of comment on. I mean,
Yeah.
several people from the show, they've liked the post, and I've spoken with other people that have DM'd me, just kind of asking if I know anything going on with MJ. Even people from Cobra Kai who know that I'm covering the show. People from the fandom, like, oh, hey, I saw your post. Like, you know anything else? And I'm just like, no, I really don't. Just what's been reported so far. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah. It feels like, yeah, we're definitely in a wait and see, how season three progresses, what we hear, coming out of that production, and then what MJ, eventually announces, what he's working on. Who knows? Maybe, the next thing you hear, it's Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale teaming up with MJ for Back to the Future series, and Peter dies of excitement.
Well, if that happens. If that happens, I think I'd just hang it up. I'd retire right after that, and just like consume that as a fan. Because sometimes like past coverages, like at some point, like some of them started becoming chores because like they just weren't enjoyable. Walking Dead. Like I don't even remember where I stopped at. That's also because I didn't know about Michael James Shaw, because his character pops up after I was done like covering the show. I just couldn't keep track of everything. It was just like, whoa, and how many showrunners did they go through? It's and then like all the spin-offs came out after that. Well, I don't think we have really too much. I know again we've been kind of quiet on the podcast front, but I don't even want to kind of like wait for like the holidays to die down, because like we are entering like a really busy month ahead of us here. But I would love to kind of get into that first episode before the new year for sure, at least two,
Mhm.
but we'll see. I would like to do that. I also wanted to give a special shout out to a friend of the show. She is she follows what we do, Diana, who designed the new logo. So for those that
Oh, look
are
at that.
watching at home, I am rocking a t-shirt with her design. That is our new logo of Sweet Tooth there. So really awesome. Shout outs. Thank you, Diana, for that. Um, Tyler, you got one, and she got a hoodie herself. So I sent you guys both gifts. Um, do you have think of anything else that we might be able to kind of touch on? Uh,
No, yeah,
Wrap
I
this
think
up.
we're be watching the news diligently.
Yeah, boy, are we? We sure are watching the news. I
You got all these
will.
emails to look through.
Yeah, I know a lot of emails and files to redact. But yeah, the last thing to comment on the whole MJ's departure. Um, I it could be anything, but I will say, like, being showrunner in that show, the 12 episodes and all the special effects and the stunts, and like I can only imagine what that was like for home life as well. You know, um, MJ has a family. His daughter drew Sweet Tooth's headshot in season 1, right? So if you guys remember the headshot that Sweet Tooth gives to John Doe that was drawn by MJ's daughter, who she drew for him, and then he worked that into the episode. So literally his fingerprints are everywhere. But I wonder if that also has anything to do with it, like how invested was he in that show that like you know what I mean? Like he was
Mhm.
gone, and so um, me, a dad of five, when I was in the military, like I knew what that was like and what and how the kids felt with dad being gone for uh, extensive periods of time. And so that's also something that's like in the back of my mind too. Like it could be anything, it could be a new project, it could be literally anything. I just kind of want to throw that in. So whatever is, you know, um whatever the future holds for Michael Jonathan Smith. Like I know it's gonna be amazing because he's just a great guy, and so like all the great things, you know, um, come to good people. Is what I've been told growing up, and it's something that I do tell people myself. When they need like someone to vent to and stuff, and so something to be optimistic about. Season three. Just the fact that we are getting back characters that we love. It's not like this guy's, David Reed's going to show up and then like, just like, all right, we're just going to completely scratch that, right? Like he's going to have people still involved from seasons one and two. I'm sure, he's going to get input and all that stuff. I think the show will be fine. For me, I'm just like, oh, dude, I need to kind of like, we need to do something and talk about my thoughts because I'm still kind of gathering them and all that. So we will report things as they come out. May not, be like the day the things break. It kind of depends on like how big the news is, if it's worthy of a podcast episode, or is it something we can kind of save and hold on to for when we do like the episode breakdowns. The other thing is like there's still a few of the cast members that I had spoken to like when the show was still kind of dropping, that said they'd come on. And so I think it is also time to kind of follow up and kind of see if that's something we can schedule, in the near future. So, before people start getting busy. Thank you guys for your guys' continued support. Even though I haven't really shared anything on social media, with the renewal news, like the Instagram is definitely blowing up. And so, I appreciate everybody that's still following and that keeps a pulse on, Twisted Metal Companion and what we do. So I really appreciate that. Sincerely do. So, Tyler, where can people find you? I don't know if you're retweeting things and
Oh, barely.
having
Yeah, the 300 points on X Hell site, Grok, and I think the same thing on Instagram, Rorik on Blue Sky. I have a YouTube channel where I post movie clips sometimes that I find funny. Look it up.
I don't think I knew that. How many episodes have we done?
Go
I know you had a I,
go search
I
for
had known that.
Live
Army
Wire
Jones.
Clown Death.
Oh,
You'll find me.
okay, see. Is that a new channel?
No, it's my personal channel. I've just like once every couple years, I'm like, oh, this scene is very funny. So I'll cut it and just upload it.
Fair enough. I will check that out, see if there's anything I'm familiar with. For me, if you guys want to, I'm not posting political stuff, but I might be retweeting some some fun things out there. I might be. If you want to follow me on my personal, I'm at Rip Citizen. But for the Twisted Metal stuff, Twisted Metal Pod on I think yeah, gosh, it's been a while now. Twisted Metal Pod, it should be that for Instagram and X. So if you just type in Twisted Metal Companion, you guys can find us. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe on the YouTube channel. Like especially the podcast review, ratings, all of that helps us, get a little bit more visibility. I know people are still really enjoying the show. There's still people that continue to find the show, and then find us and find the interviews. I'm still getting engagement and interactions daily. So, um, and that's the other thing. The gamers haven't had a fucking game in like over 13 years. And so that's the other frustrating thing. It's like The show's a hit, you guys.
If a
What's
hit
up?
if a hit TV show is not going to do it, what is Sony?
Right. No physical copies that we can order. I keep looking, I want my Blu-rays or 4K, with all the special effects, I want them. So I don't know who to go, but if we can put it out into the internet, hopefully maybe we'll get it someday. All right, guys, that's gonna do it. Thanks as always for checking out our content, and we'll catch you guys next time.